You've tried networking groups. You've posted on LinkedIn and stopped. You've asked your best clients for referrals, and maybe even you've paid for a directory listing or hired a VA to handle your social media, and yet your business is still growing the same way it always has, through a trickle of personal introductions from people who already know you. And while that's great, here's what I want to show you today. Every single one of those tactics has failed because of the same flaw. Not a different flaw, the same one. And once you see it, you'll understand exactly why more effort keeps producing the same results and what to do instead. Hi, I'm Robby Fowler, and welcome to issue 266 of the 4 Wins. Each week you get something to try, apply, ponder, and relate to. Let's jump in with win number 1. Win number 1, something to try. Now you get that this is really simple, but it is also hard, and that is actually why it's so frustrating. How could something so small impede your progress? It's like the tiniest pebble wedged in your shoe under your heel when you're trying to take a walk. And what are we talking about? We're talking about a simple arrow symbol. It's those little characters you need when you're typing, but you can never find them when you need them. It's like a little check mark that you need. Maybe it's an arrow, or maybe it's like a keyboard symbol like the command key or the shift key. You're typing your new sales process out, and you just need an arrow that indicates the direction. Or maybe you've got an SOP and you need an X or a check mark. You just need these now and again, these characters, and you're asking yourself, where in the freak are those characters when I just need to type them? I just need the character. Well, I want you to take a deep breath because they're right here. And I'm going to show you a site that you can just bookmark. It's handy. It's free. It's from the good folks over at StudioWorks. You're going to find arrows. You're going to find the symbols that you need. They're all under their creative tools section. Basically, you find the symbol, you click it to copy it, then you paste it, and voila, you've got instant relief. The pebble is out of your shoe, and you can go on about your business. Let me give you a quick demo to show you what's there on the StudioWorks site. We're looking at the StudioWorks library. It's a list of free resources. We're in the creative tools section. This is where all their arrows and symbols are. You can search for an arrow like right and just hit right. I can type command. I can see the command symbol, or you can scroll down and explore the different categories. They have everything neatly organized. Once you find a symbol or arrow that you need, you just click on it. That copies it. You go to your document, you paste it, and you're ready to go. So very handy when you need this, which is not often, but kind of like that pebble in the shoe, man. When you need it and you can't figure out how in the world do I type a shift character, or where's a right arrow or some other circle, you just click it, find it, go on about your business. Some other really interesting resources that are also available in this library from StudioWorks. You can see these business tools. Depending on the kind of work you do, some of these would be really helpful. There's an effective rate calculator that could be handy for you. That could be handy if you're hiring someone in just for this project to figure out, how do I want to price it? What is their effective hourly rate? What is my effective hourly rate? A project estimator tool, very handy if you're trying to, even if you're just doing this internally to get a feel for the numbers before you present that to a client in some sort of engagement. That can be really handy. There's a social tool that's a link page generator. So if you don't feel like firing up Claude Code and building one of your own, or going and using something like Linktree or whatever, this would allow you to quickly build a page, follow your social links, add it to your site. And so anytime you're giving a presentation, you're out meeting people, you would just point them to that single page that links them out to all of your different social media sites. So really cool tools here, including that arrows and symbols tool. I would bookmark this, so the next time you are super frustrated because you're just trying to find the arrow or the symbol, come here, find it, click on it, go on about your business. Win number 2, something a client recently asked. We're in part 2 of our referral ceiling series, but here's the challenge. On the one hand, business isn't hurting, but growth isn't happening either. So this week, we're going to take a look at why the things you've tried to fix, being the best kept secret, have fallen short. If we flipped through the catalog of fixes that you've tried to break free from being the best kept secret, they would likely include things like this. You got plugged into a networking group. You started posting on LinkedIn and then stopped. You paid for a directory listing. You point blank started asking for more referrals, or perhaps you tried a social media VA. And these all feel like progress, and they're each laced with a hit of dopamine, but progress and produce are two very different things, even if they share some of the same common letters. In other words, the outcome of that progress ultimately failed to produce the predictable business that you want from people who did not actually know you before. First, the certification or credentials that you have earned look very similar to the other 7 competitors with the same badges that they have on their website and they're sharing in their marketing, and without a core message or position that differentiates, your potential customer uses the default criteria of price to choose between you and your competitors. The directory listing is a pay-to-play on someone else's platform solution. And algorithms, pricing, even the size of that directory, that can all shift, and they don't need your consent, and sometimes it can even happen without your knowledge. So leads disappear when your listing disappears on a listing site. So that's not really lead ownership. You might say that's lead leasing. Let's talk about networking. And networking can for sure work, but it is hard to scale because you have to personally dress up, you have to show up, you have to impress, you have to follow up, and oftentimes you have to chase down. And that's not even mentioning the fact that oftentimes you have to manage your own disappointment when you're generously giving out referrals, but that generosity doesn't always get reciprocated. So these activities, it's not that they're foolish, it's not that they're futile, it's not that you're wrong to do them, they just share the same fundamental flaw. They are all amplifiers. They're volume knobs, and they skip one critical question. Are you cranking the volume on a melody that's music to your customer's ears, or is this white noise that gets or turned off? So I don't want you to confuse volume with melody. So here's a simple equation. Noise plus volume just equals loud noise. I recently asked a client that has very strong referrals what their customers say when they refer them. And my client said, our customers will often say, they handle everything. And I don't know if you spot the problem with that, but we handle everything is not a very strong differentiator. In fact, it's very vanilla because right now you have no idea what my client does. And honestly, every other competitor in their space can say the exact same thing. We handle everything. And that's why my client's growth was capped at personal introductions, because they have nothing to amplify except a wall of white noise that doesn't differentiate them from anyone else. And I don't know if you've ever been to a concert before, but nobody goes out on tour with white noise. So next time we'll take a look at what is it that you can build that you could take out on tour that's tour worthy to take with you to turn the volume up on. Win number 3, something to think about. Now, clients respond to this every time we hit this part of my radical empathy brand framework. When we unpack that together in the work that we do, marketing amplifies, branding manifests, but amplifies and manifests what? So my advice when we get there every time is, hey, we need to compose the melody, then we crank the volume. Win number 4, something personal. Now, if this were a journal entry in my journal, the title would be A Shot to the Head and You're to Blame, plus Gen Z takeaways. It's going to explain why in today's issue, for the first time, I'm wearing a hat. So part 1, shot to the head, and you're to blame. The shot came Saturday morning. It's about 11 a.m. I was installing a motion sensor light switch in the new mudroom and laundry room downstairs. It's just off the garage. This was a fairly simple, straightforward project. Now, the expected ROI of this little honeydew is that when we walk in from the garage, bam, automatic lights, camera, action. The little motion sensor would catch us, and there's no more scrambling for the light switch. So I've done enough light electrical work pardon the pun there, to know I needed a headlamp before I get started, because metaphorically and ironically, things get very dark before they get light when you do this kind of electrical work. So I went out to the garage, I flipped the breaker off, I turned the headlamp on, and with that existing light switch, I'd removed it from the wall. It's dangling from the wall. I noticed that I needed to grab a little bit of electrical tape to mark which one of the black wires was the hot wire, because this was a two-way switch, if you're familiar with electrical. So that sent me to the other closet in the house that's actually tucked under the stairwell. So I duck down, I go to the back of that closet, I retrieve my roll of electrical tape, I turn around, I stand up, and I start headed back out. The problem was, I'm walking full Homo sapien upright, like an evolved person, and I walked smack into the 2x4 frame of the shelf in that same closet that is actually positioned near the exit. So I've crouched down at the back part of the closet under the stairwell to get my tape. I get out from under that, stand up, not catching that my headlamp was blocking my peripheral vision, and bang! I smacked it right there, which is why I have the hat on, this hat has a blood stain on it. Immediately, the cartoon Tweety birds start circling my bleeding scalp. Honestly, my little piece of my scalp is still on that 2x4. I think I'm going to leave it there as a reminder to never ever do that again. So I'm writhing in pain at this point. I got a paper towel soaking up the blood. It's not really soaking up my shame. And I immediately had a flashback of one other incident. I was working at summer camp while I was in college, and I ventured into this pitch black storage room we had. It didn't have any windows. It's 11 o'clock at night. And I'm there to grab an extra bed frame because we had an unexpected extra camper show up. So I'm groping in the dark. I've got the zombie arms out there, outstretched, right, feeling for anything because I can't see anything in the dark. And I'm just inching my way forward. Suddenly, my foot steps on something hard. I can feel it. So I stop, I pause, and I'm feeling around. I don't feel anything near me as I'm waving my arms in every direction. And so I think I'm okay. And I'm actually clueless that as my foot is pressing on whatever it is underneath me, that it's pressing on a metal bed frame that's leaning at a 45-degree angle away from me, which is why I can't feel it. And the longer I stood there, cautiously on the bed frame, confident that, hey, nothing's going on because I can't feel anything, the longer I stood there, the more I'm actually accelerating that bed frame, bringing about a frame to noggin collision. As I'm stepping on it, it rises up, smack, hits me, square across the head, and cue Tweety bird circulation. That brings us to part 2, Gen Z takeaways. I promise we're going to tie this together. So on Sunday, I attended a presentation by the CEO of the Barna group. It'd be kind of similar to the Gallup group, if you know them. He did a presentation on leading the way with Gen Z. As a reminder, Gen Z is roughly ages 18 to 35 right now. And here are a few takeaways. Number 1, humans don't change, but context does. So whether you were raised in World War II or whether you were raised with or without the internet, think about a generation raised with screens and social media in front of them all the time, or think about a younger generation now that's going to be raised in a world of AI. Humans don't change, but the context that influences and shapes them certainly does. Takeaway number 2, Gen Z and AI. This was interesting. There's been a flat adoption rate over the past year, so that has actually not gone up in Gen Z, according to Gallup. There's been 14% less excitement about AI among Gen Z, 9% decrease in hopefulness about AI. This was an interesting one. A 9% rise in anger at AI. So that's a very recent Gallup report. 2 more takeaways. The top Gen Z challenges: discouragement that life isn't turning out as planned, and depression that you're not the kind of person that you want to be. And any of us that are watching this, particularly those of us older than Gen Z, man, we can relate to that. Life didn't turn out like I thought it would, and I'm not maybe quite the person that I really hoped that I would be. The last one is a very interesting article titled "God is So Back," and it actually appeared in Glamour UK, the magazine So this God is So Back Glamour article quotes author Lamorna Ash. I was not familiar with her, but she's in that kind of millennial Gen Z age range. And it quoted her saying, "What you do in the world seems to matter, and there's little space for nihilism." And then contrasting social media's oversimplified explanations of how to tackle these complex questions, then Ash again notes this, quote, "Churches and all religious spaces are these repositories of deep, deep time. There's a kind of transcendental element that goes beyond the daily changes of the world." So here's the synthesis of my head-smacking in Gen Z conclusion. I am a parent of 3 Gen Zers. And like an unexpected 2x4 to the head, Sunday's Barna event was a much-needed reminder to duck. Duck the commotion that somehow tomorrow is going to be fundamentally different than yesterday or yesteryear. I'm in firm agreement. Humans don't change, but context does. So my kids are wrestling with the same challenge that you and I need to wrestle with, and that is, what can I do in the world that matters? Because it does matter. And we all need help in that endeavor. It's not something we figure out on our own. And therefore, I was as encouraged as ever to not only do the work that I do, but I think more importantly, do it the way that I do it and want to do it. As I've long said, if you run your own business, make sure that you build something worth giving your life to. Keep building a life-giving brand.